So to tee that up, and we'll get specifically to transfer stuff, but we'll start with Isak, and you've kind of teed us up nicely there. But just to tee it up a little bit, and not there's an awful lot of talk about a plan B. I think I see someone even in the chat there talking about a plan B. I've been kind of driving that bus as well, and it's my kind of assumption that even though, like you said, we have form for saying this is the one we want. God knows we do. We've spent summer after summer doing it with midfielders. You spoke about the Virgil one, which at least had a happy ending of sorts. So we do have form for it, but it's been my assumption that, look, you can't sell the amount of attacking players that we have sold and are still looking to offload without a plan B in place. That's, again, maybe that's just daft, but that's my version of common sense. But I'm hearing no rumours at all, no whispers about what that plan B might be, either in the attack or if Mark Guehi doesn't work out. We got the kid Leone, and we'll talk about him. But are you hearing anything? I mean, you've got an ear there closer to the ground than we would. Is there anything by way of solid rumor or suggestion? Because I'm not hearing any.
So you spoke before about the more reliable sources at Anfield, and they're the same people that I either see at the matches or that I communicate with during the week, and they can't even come up with a rumor. And they're also none the wiser in terms of Isak than what they're still telling me the same thing about Isak that he told me 4 weeks ago. What it might require for us to be able to get him. Obviously, yesterday, I'm not sure yesterday helped anything. If anything, I think it might just have made Newcastle's owners more determined not to lose face.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going with that as well. Let's just have a look, and I'll share this with yourself, and hopefully everybody else can see that too. This is the statement that you're alluding to that came out from Alexander Isak last night while the PFA awards were on, if you don't mind. He says, "I'm proud to be recognised by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League team of the season for 24-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle who has supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, it didn't feel right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself." And that's signed by the man himself. Now, Jan, there's a lot there, my friend. There's a lot to pick apart, and you saw the response by Newcastle. You've alluded to that already, which seemed to firmly shut the door on any chance of a move, and addressing the fact that the conditions of sale were not met. So there's all this over and back about whether or not Liverpool's offer was derisory or insulting, and we've all heard that, and it sparked a lot of debate amongst people. I'm not really interested in dragging you into that, but I would love to get your take. You have previously spoken very clearly, thinking that you made your feelings on it clear last week that Isak's behaviour, whereas perhaps understandable in the lad's own head, wasn't very helpful. It was alienating him, and it wasn't in any way a thing that you felt comfortable with. I think an awful lot of people are in the same boat. This one is the nail in the coffin, man. This is, how do you come back from it? How do they, as a group, him and them, come back from this? They can say all they want about how the door is open, but man, that's pretty final from Isak, isn't it? So what do you make of this? What are your thoughts about where things currently stand on the back of that?
So normally, Trevor, in situations like that, I think we're desperate to hear from the people involved. Yeah, you kind of go, well, why don't you say anything? Now, in this instance, I think he should have kept quiet. Nobody is in doubt that he wants to leave Newcastle, But as it stands, he's not really attributed to any of those quotes, is he? Because he hasn't come out and said anything. Yes, he's done what he's done, isn't he? But so far, he stayed away from verbally saying, "I want to leave the club," although nobody's in any doubt. And I just find that when you it was obviously last night, and it was my wife who first said, "Have you seen this?" So I read it, and then I read it again, and the two words, promises and issues, and I'm going, "Go on, tell me, what is it?"
Yeah.
Tell me what the promises are. Puts Newcastle on the back foot, because if you're telling the truth, they would then have to come out and lie. He's left the door open for them to come back, and for Newcastle and the owners to reply so quick, where they've just gone bang. We made no promises, and the conditions have not been met, and we don't think they'll be met. Now, he could have come out and said, "I spoke to A, who said or promised, and we were going to do and whatever." So I think he left the door open. There's no doubt when you read that statement, he's had help. Somebody's helped put that statement together. Whoever that is, I would suggest don't pay them for that statement. In fact, don't pay them in the future either, because they've done you absolutely no favours whatsoever. But Trevor, I'm 62 years of age, and you're entitled to call me old-fashioned. But when you have an issue with your club where you still have 3 years left of your contract, you speak to the club, you negotiate with the club, then you train and play, then you negotiate again, then you train and play. That's the way I was brought up, and I just for my life, don't get why they couldn't be talking to the club, see if they can resolve their difficulties, why they can still train and be available to play. Because let's not kid ourselves, Trevor. What are you contracted to do? Train and play, And the moment you don't do that is the moment that so many people lose respect for you. Now, at the moment, I'm disappointed with him. But of course, the moment he walks through the doors at Anfield and whatever, we'll be absolutely delighted, isn't he? But he's not covering himself in glory. And I just think that by the minute, he makes it more and more difficult. We know what the conditions are. The conditions are that Newcastle can sign at least 2 strikers. At the moment, they can't get 1 through the doors. And also, there's a transfer fee that needs to be met, whether that's 150, which also Alexander Isak is pushing Newcastle towards standing their ground on the fee. So the fans can say, "Well, you got bullied by Liverpool," So, yeah, he should have kept his mouth quiet, Trevor.
It's gotten so ugly. It's bringing out some wild reactions in people, and you understand fans are one-eyed. They see things only from the perspective of their own club, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably as guilty of it as anybody, but I do try to have some sort of semblance of seeing all sides. I get why they would be pissed off. I get why Newcastle fans would find this all very frustrating. Of course I do, because if you're a Liverpool fan of any number of years at all and you don't get this, then you weren't paying attention when we were having nightmares with Torres, with Suarez, with Coutinho. We've been here, but I've seen an awful lot of people, just losing the plot on both sides. It's a tricky one, Jan. And what I just want to tease, I don't want to get us embroiled in any sort of one side or the other. Just the honest chat that we have is what people like on this show. So you touched on it there, and I can't help wondering myself, the broken promises thing. If he actually fully believes that that's a point that's worth making. I saw David Lynch talking on this channel earlier on in the day, and he was chatting about how that probably alludes to a contract offer that was an improvement in conditions that was touted and then withdrawn. And honestly, if David's saying it, it's probably something he's definitely heard. He's not going to speculate wildly about something like that. Does that change your view on then a fella maybe deciding to down tools in the way that he has, because one side is not dealing justly with the other, or at least as they have promised? Would that color your view of his behavior? I'm just trying to see, is there a way to walk it back for him? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there always is, half a way of walking something back, isn't it, Trevor? But I just find that football, broken promises, Trevor. That's kind of, Trevor. If I went through my career And the things that I was promised, I'm not talking just in terms of contracts or whatever, in terms of playing at the weekend or whatever the plan is, isn't it? You know what I mean? So it's a land of broken promises. But I just think that he could have done a bit more. If that's how he feels, then he should have named some people. I think he should have named Amanda Staveley, who's no longer with the club, because she was the link between the owners and the players. I think he should have named the sporting director, who was there for 5 minutes, Paul Mitchell, if that is the case. But also, if he's been unhappy for 12 months, then we come back to probably the guy who helped him with the statement. What's he been doing for 12 months? If you haven't been able to come to some kind of a conclusion. But of course, there is some, there's nothing worse than being promised something that, and I've experienced players at Anfield that's been promised new contracts, and then in the blink of an eye, something had happened. And quite a bit was to happen in the early 90s when Graham Souness took over as a manager, and there was some people led to believe that there was new contracts and they were part of the future. And still to this day, and they're equally as old as me in their 60s, still don't get it. Are still frustrated because that's the ego in us, isn't it? You know what I mean? They offer me new, they give me a new contract, and of course I understand that, isn't it? But I just think there's a way of, he could have dealt with that better. He could have dealt with that better, Trevor, and it was so much easier to come with a solution, or come to a solution in the end.